I know the Community Wellness Center is now teaching a prenatal nutrition class. Can you tell me why y'all decided to do this and what benefits it provides to the community?
Yes, actually it's long been recognized that obesity in a mom is going to be an issue, not only for the mom, for health reasons, and for the baby. But a local physician, obstetrician, approached Sandy Matthews, our department head, and requested that we design a class to teach prenatal nutrition, specifically targeting women who are obese. So there are a lot of health reasons, health risks associated with obesity. That's one of the main reasons. A woman's at greater risk for gestational diabetes, and that's a diabetes that can occur just in pregnancy. There's a condition called preeclampsia, which is a high blood pressure disorder, which can lead to other complications that can affect the baby. Women who are obese can have sleep apnea, and that can have its own impact. The other thing is when you have a obese pregnant woman, an obese mother, the child, the baby, or the child tends more likely to be obese, and that has a lot to do with her habits. So we wanted to have a tool, a way to teach women how to look at their nutrition, how they eat during pregnancy, and to change their habits.
Okay. I guess can you go into a few of the tips that y'all provide in the class?
The first thing that we start off with is we help the woman determine what her body mass index is. And that gives the woman a guide for whether or not she's average weight, underweight, or obese. And then from there, she can determine what her weight gain range should be during pregnancy. So it can be an eye-opener for some women. And a woman who has a BMI or body mass index of 30 or greater is considered to be obese. So we start there, and I think that helps women know where they are, what they should be doing during their pregnancy. And then we talk about some key nutrients that they need to have during pregnancy. So you want to make sure you're getting foods that are high in these nutrients. Iron is one of those. And iron is part of the protein hemoglobin, which carries oxygen to different parts of the body, and it helps muscles store oxygen. So a lot of times you might hear of someone being anemic and they are very tired. You're tired during pregnancy anyway, but if you're anemic, it might be even more so. So good sources of iron are going to be primarily your meats, your beef, your poultry, your seafood, but you can get it from other sources if you happen to be a vegetarian. Like beans are great. The combination of beans and rice is a complete protein. And then dark green leafy vegetables, cashews, spinach. If people are into smoothies, they can add kale and spinach into their smoothie and get some good iron that way, get other good nutrients. The other thing we like to focus on is calcium. And I think generally everybody knows that, but when you really look at it and think about what are you getting in the way of calcium in a day, and a woman needs 4 servings of dairy a day. Ideally that would be 2 8-ounce glasses of milk. They can do yogurt and cheese. You have to watch the cheese because it's higher in fat, so you want to have that in more limited quantities. And I'll talk a little bit more about the yogurt later. But so milk, cheese, yogurt, dark green leafy vegetables, and sardines. I don't know how many people eat sardines, but that's a source of calcium.
Oh wow, that's
too.
interesting.
Yeah.
I would never think that.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have either. Folate or folic acid is another very important nutrient for pregnant women. It is in prenatal vitamins. It's one of the reasons it's so critical for them to have those vitamins, but you want to try to get it in foods too. And the reason it's important, it prevents neural tube defects like spina bifida. And years ago, they didn't know about this. It's a very simple fix, preventative measure. But a good way to get it are legumes, which would be your red beans, any other beans, fruit, and vegetables are high in folic acid. So we target those nutrients. There are some things you want to limit. We want to have the women limit their sodium, and the recommendation is that they have less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. So you really need to look at labels, and I want to talk about labels a little bit more. And then sugars. That's a big bugaboo. And a lot of times when you talk to a woman about what they're drinking, you look at the list and you'll see sodas, you'll see sweet tea, energy drinks, a lot of things like this. And when you realize that a woman should have no more than 24 grams of sugar a day, when you start to add those things up, It's very eye-opening.
Oh, wow.
And
And is that in pregnant women only, or is that all women should
It's
only
all
have?
women, it's everybody. So once again, we're talking about habits. So if they can change these habits in pregnancy, it'll help maintain a weight gain, a good weight gain during pregnancy, but even afterwards, and they'll be a better example for their children. So I think the sugar is a good point to bring up the labels. It's very important to read labels, and when you look at a label, you want to understand what a serving size is, because they're going to talk about calories per serving size. You might have a container that would have more than one serving.
Right.
So you don't want to consume the whole container of the food or the drink. When you look at sugar, and that's an important thing to look at on a label, I have two examples here. I have the vitamin water and the Gatorade. And if you were shopping and you were looking, let's say there were sodas and let's say there were coffee drinks here, which one would you think would be the healthier choice?
Probably vitamin water.
And what's very interesting is, well, let me look at this label. And when you look at the label, there's 32 grams of sugar in this vitamin water.
Wow.
So the people who are marketing this product were really smart. You see vitamin, you see water, and you think healthy. But you've got to read the labels to understand.
And so that's more than what you should take in a day.
It's more than you should take in a day, exactly. Okay. And there are sugars in so many things that we don't even know about. You've got to look at spaghetti sauce. You don't think of it as having sugar, but it does. It's in a lot of foods that we wouldn't associate with sugar. The Gatorade, I think a lot of people think of this as a healthy kind of thing to drink. But when you look at the sugar here, it's 21 grams of sugar. Oh. The other thing you want to do when you look at a label is to read the ingredients, because the first ingredient, the second ingredient, that's going to be the most of what's in it. And if you look at this one, it's got water. Sugar's the second ingredient on this one, and the same thing here. You've got reverse osmosis water, but then you have crystalline fructose. And you have to understand the different names of sugar. Okay. Fructose, dextrose, high fructose corn syrup. So it can be hidden and you don't even realize it. So read your labels. That's a big deal. The other example for labels I like to show to moms and bring home a point. You know, we talk about yogurt as a good source of calcium, and it is. But once again, it's very important to read the labels. I have 3 examples of yogurt here. And which one of these would you think would be the better choice?
Probably. There's one here that says light, non-fat. I would assume that's the best choice. Okay. And
actually, it is. It's a better choice. But even this one is non-fat vanilla yogurt. And if you look at it, it has 4 servings in the container. It's got 34 grams of sugar per serving.
Wow. So there's 4 in a container, and there's 34 grams in each.
So if somebody ate the whole container, you multiply that 34 times 4.
Wow.
Right. So hopefully they wouldn't do that.
Let's hope not.
And then here's another yogurt that I think a lot of people consider popular. It's got 19 grams of sugar. So ideally, you're going to go for something that's less than 10 grams. If you're going to drink something, ideally it would have less than 5 grams of sugar. So I think that's very eye-opening for a lot of women.
So these are kind of not completely processed, but somewhat processed foods, yogurt, sports drinks. Do the foods we eat that are natural, like spinach and things like that you talked about, do those have sugar in them as well that you have to factor into that 24 grams?
They do have sugar in them, but they also have so many other healthy nutrients. I think it's more important to look at the added sugars. Okay. We're really talking more about the added sugars. So ideally, a woman would have the milk and the water to drink. And if you don't like just plain water, and it's interesting because a lot of people don't like just plain water, so you can add your lemon, you can add other fruit. We call that infused water or spa water, and some people find that a nice alternative. So you can slice fruit, citrus, you can add berries to the water. Watermelon is terrific. Don't squeeze it into the water, but just let it sit and steep. I would say no more than 48 hours. And I would discard it after that. But you should have 9 cups of water a day. So it's very important for women to stay very well hydrated during their pregnancy. The other tip that I have that I think is kind of eye-opening for women, and I think all of us could learn this, is portion sizes. People really don't have a good perception of what a good portion size is. So we have a chart for them which kind of gives them away without measuring. We don't want people to have to measure all their food. You can't reasonably measure all your meals. So what you can do is, for instance, a cup of milk is going to be about the size of your fist. A cup of vegetables or fruit is going to be about the size of your fist. So if you can have 2 cups of vegetables are recommended every day. So it'd be like the size of 2 fists.
Okay.
And then if you look at meat, the idea would be to get a serving the size of the palm of your hand. And when I start thinking about this and think about what I eat, I realize sometimes how much I overdo, especially with the carbohydrates. A half a cup of rice is a serving. I probably do a cup when I have red beans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and spaghetti, those kind of things can sneak up on you, so you have to be careful of that. Peanut butter, a tablespoon is a serving size, or 2 tablespoons, but 1 tablespoon is about the size of your thumb. Cheese, I've already talked about being higher in fat, and portion sizes for cheese are very small. So it would be about the size of your pointer finger. I mean, you can have a cube like that. That can be a serving of cheese. So that makes a big difference to the moms.
Oh, wow.
To understand that. A lot of them react very positively. They appreciate it. I think they leave feeling like they have some useful information that they can take home. And hopefully they carry it on after they have the baby and they become good examples to their children as they grow.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. That's excellent, I mean, health tips for anyone, and especially pregnant moms that, you know, they're passing on all their nutrients to their baby, so you gotta watch it. Although I assume when most people get pregnant, they think, oh, now this is my chance to eat whatever I want all the time.
Well, a lot of people say, oh, I'm eating for 2. And that's one thing we do caution them on, because yes, you're growing a baby, but you don't double what you eat, because you will gain too much weight. And if you can keep your weight gain within the range that's recommended, you're going to have a much easier time losing that weight afterwards. So they really need to keep that in mind.
Well, great.
They'll feel better too if they eat well.